This is Left at the Door, a podcast and vlog where we talk to people about the things that they left at the door in order to love, grow, succeed, and survive. These are their stories, and this is Left at the Door.
I'm Sarah Easter.
I'm Cassie Yoder, and here with us today is David Winholtz, and he is the manager of RedZone Fitness. He's the owner of Downtown Fitness Club, plus he also is a consultant for ML Crossfit. So we're talking about everything fitness and healthy lifestyle, David. But I guess the question that I would have for you, and that I know that many listeners and viewers have that even know a little bit about you, is was there one particular or singular event that triggered this love and this passion for a healthy lifestyle, or have you always been this way?
There kind of was. Whenever we practiced football, we had the off season. And in high school, my coach wasn't exactly tech savvy. So we had a program that we ran in order to create the workout programs for our off season. And he couldn't load it up. He couldn't figure out how to use it. Back then I was tech savvy. Nowadays, I mean, it's a little bit more advanced than I can handle, but I could at least log into the program.
Yeah.
So once I logged into the program, he brought me on as sort of like an assistant coach just to kind of help create the programs. And the guys on the team, they kind of loved my program more than they liked his. So they would come to me and say, hey, do you mind altering this, changing this, helping me out with my program a little bit? You know, helping me get to those little milestones that I want to get to. And I really loved it. I mean, I loved helping them. I loved it more than I love playing the sports themselves. I mean, I love fitness, but I love helping people achieve their fitness more.
Mm-hmm. So I think that that's the other important thing to think about is that, you know, for some people, they see all of this gym experience, but it has been years of accumulating. It's not like it just happened overnight that you were just like, I think I'm just going to go and open a gym.
Nope. Yep. No, definitely not.
Yeah.
No, I really had to kind of claw into the whole thing because it's a very uncomfortable experience. People look to you for almost every single answer for fitness, and that's a lot of pressure sometimes.
Mm-hmm. You were young whenever you started this, right?
I was, yeah. Whenever I was 20 to 21, I was taking on my first clients, and it was I was still in college. I was going to college for this whole thing, and I actually had an internship that they needed for a summer course that I was doing. And I went to Club Fitness at the time and tried to get an internship there, but the owner mistook me for a new member. So what he did was he just pulled me right into the bathroom. He said, hey, get changed, come on out. We're going to get started here in a second. And I was there for an internship, so I'm not going to tell him no. I mean, I was there. Right. So we came out, and he ran me through a CrossFit workout. And at the end of the CrossFit workout, I mean, I was exhausted. I was wiped out. And he looked at me, and he was like, so you're Steve, right? And I was like, no, I'm David. I'm here for an internship. And he was like, oh, you're no clue who you are. Okay.
So meanwhile, where's Steve? Is he just like sitting in the gym, like waiting for his like training to begin?
I would assume so. Yeah, he was completely left out. Yeah. But I got that internship. Yeah. I can tell you that. He was impressed.
So what was that experience like? Did you know then you're like this, like you had found your passion, or did you feel like you were still kind of sorting through all of it?
Well, the more you do it, I think the more you get that gratification. I mean, the more you help people, the more it kind of puts a little piece of your heart back together, and it makes you really feel like you're doing something worthwhile. And the more I do it, the more I get that gratification. Mm-hmm. I don't want to turn that away anymore. Yeah. It's almost like an addiction.
I feel like it is in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a success story or whether it's somebody that just walks in the door for the first time.
Right.
To know that it is a courageous thing to step foot and decide that you want to make a change when it comes to a healthy lifestyle.
Oh, yeah. And anytime you help somebody feel better about themselves, I mean, you almost get that vicariously through them. I mean, the self-confidence they get gives you a little bit more confidence with helping people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So David, talk to us about your approach, because I feel like sometimes people have this like idea of what a personal trainer is, or what a fitness coach is, or what, you know, a nutritional coach is. And so they sometimes think of like people standing over them with a whistle, just screaming, you know.
Yep.
Talk about that, because there is a lot of illusions and a lot of misconceptions.
Yeah, that I've always found that's like very flashy TV training. And it's actually, surprisingly enough, not very effective. What I try and do is I try and get to know the person, I try and get to know the client, and I try and approach it from your personal perspective. I mean, if you feel comfortable doing it, then you're going to be 10 times more successful. If you feel uncomfortable, I mean, that's a gym. If you've never been in a gym before, it's already uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. It's already a very intimidating experience. You're going to expect to see some guy in a singlet and some girl in a sports bra, and, you know, people that are way outside of your fitness profession, and they're looking good and you're not going to be noticed, or if you are noticed, you're going to be judged. And that's really not true. A lot of people in there, especially the ones that have been doing it for a long time, want to see someone better themselves every single time, whether you're starting at the bottom, halfway up, or all the way at the top. They always want to help. So my approach really is just to get to know you, find out what your goals are, find out what your ambitions are, and find out what your level is. Sometimes people have, I just want to take one step, and I'll be happy with that. I just want to lose 5 pounds, and I just want to, like they say, I want to brush my teeth without my belly shaking. I've heard that one before, and that one cracks me up every single time. But some people, I mean, they want a six-pack, they want bigger arms, so it really is, no approach is the same way. Some people take that tough love. Some people need, a gentle guiding hand. And you're not going to find that out without actually knowing the person.
So I think, though, one of the things that I think about with you, and knowing my background with you from the gym and whatnot, being in your position, you're giving constantly to people. You're pushing, you're coaching, you're a cheerleader in so many ways, because they sometimes get to that point where they're at the lowest lows, and they may walk in and then maybe mentally are not there. But I think, how do you, take that on? Because that is a type of energy, and that's something that you're having to process with every client. And then you're with somebody and you switch gears. So how do you kind of process everybody's different energy levels?
That is a definitely a tough one. It really does, I guess, depend on the person. I don't know. I don't know how I would answer
Does
that.
it rub off on you? Like, if somebody's like having a really bad day and they're just not in it, and they're just not there mentally, does that rub off on you, or do you feel? Yeah.
Yes, it does. And you have to do your best to shake it off. Sometimes it hits you a little bit harder than you would think, but more often than not, it really hits you kind of hard, especially when somebody has been trying for about a month to hit a certain milestone and they're just not getting there. And that makes me feel so bad about myself.
Well, and I think another thing that I think about is you become really close with people.
Yes.
It's not, I think that's probably part of the reason that it weighs heavily, because it's not just a random person that you're like, the minute they leave, it's not like you just shut off instantaneously.
Oh yeah, you take it home with you.
Yeah. And I feel like in a lot of ways, it's no different than, like a counseling session.
Yes.
For that person, this is a form of counseling. This is a form of, self-help, to be able to come in there and step foot and decide, today I'm going to make a choice. And every day that they continue to show up, they keep making that choice.
Yeah, it's actually funny that you talk about that, because I've always been a firm believer that self-confidence has nothing to do with your body. It has a lot to do with how you perceive yourself. And the body's dysmorphia is a common thing where, as they say, you look in a mirror and you see something completely different than what's actually there. You see somebody that you want to see. And more often than not, we want to see ourselves as worse than what we are. And that's a terrible thing to whenever you think about something like that. So it's not really about working the body. It's about working the way you feel about yourself.
So when you aren't training people or helping people, how do you fill your cup? How do you re-energize? What gets you going and basically gets you back to the place where you're ready to help again?
Music actually helps me a lot.
Really?
I listen to music all the time. It's almost from the point I wake up to the point I go to sleep. I listen to motivational speeches, or I listen to very pop, upbeat music, things that really are going to get you excited. I'm a dancer. I don't dance very well, but I'm a dancer. I'm always karaoke and singing to the music, in my car, or whether I'm cleaning or setting the gym up or prepping, writing meal plans, writing workout programs. I am listening to music and I'm jamming.
I feel like I know this from experience. Like, you sang in the gym.
Yep.
You're always, the energy level of the gym is always there. But it makes me laugh because a couple episodes ago, we were all talking about judgment and like what you leave at the door and whatnot. And Andrea McGee, who's also one of our co-hosts, we asked her, we're like, if you could do anything and no one would judge you, what would that be? And she said, dancing. And it is funny how so many people are like, it is. There's certain things like that really motivate you and energize you, but you're like, there's not always a place for it, but you do it anyway. So
that can actually tie into gym and fitness as well, because what I've found is when you do something that you haven't done very frequently, people are going to judge you almost immediately, because they're going to tell you everything they know about it. Well, here's what you did wrong. Here's what you're doing right. Here's what you can do better. But the more you do something, even if you suck at it, I suck at singing, I suck at dancing. But my clients, my members have heard me singing and dancing. My coworkers hear it all the time, so much so that they just know it's there. They know I'm in the gym by whether or not they can hear me from a distance. And that is, no, I can't sing, but they don't judge me anymore because they're like, okay, yep, that's David.
Yeah, it really is. I feel like it's no different than like when somebody wears a certain type of clothing or they have certain mannerisms. It's like, this is just who that person is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I also think that it rubs off on other people.
Yes.
Because people, when they see somebody else being themselves and being an authentic version of themselves, it motivates somebody else to say, well, if they can do it, so can I. If they're being themselves, maybe I can do the things that I want to do.
It also brings a certain level of comfort, too, to that person. They think, oh, I can be around David because he's himself.
Yep.
So I think that's important.
Yeah. What about tough love, David? Because I feel like sometimes people walk in the door, and when it comes to not just the gym, when it comes to just being healthy in general, there's a lot of excuses that are made.
Yes.
How do you deal with that?
Honesty.
Okay.
So honesty beats tough love every single time. I'm never going to berate somebody. I'm never going to beat them down. But if somebody walks in the door and tells me they want to lose 50 pounds in 1 month, good luck. That's not realistic. It's not going to happen. And not only is that not going to happen, it's not healthy. It really is very dramatic and unnecessary. So you really have to approach it a little bit more honestly than you have to approach this sort of aggressive kind of tough love mentality. You just have to tell them this is what it's going to take. You're giving 50% right now. If you give me 75%, you can lose about 2 to 3 pounds a week, give or take, maybe 5 pounds a month, whatever. You just kind of lay it out on the line with them. And whether they choose to accept that as the truth is up to them. Whether they choose to take that path is up to them. But at least you know that you gave them the truth. I'm not going to tell you I'm a miracle. I'm not going to tell you I'm going to get you in shape. I'm going to guide you. Whether or not you walk that path is up to you.
So and that's what I was going to say. They're there to coach them along the way. How do you feel like people then react to that honesty?
They love it. I think people are far more successful because they know that you're not trying to sell them something. I mean, I'm not trying to sell them any kind of product that is going to burn the body fat right off of them, because there is no such product like that. Somebody out there would be a billionaire right now if one magic pill would get you in shape. It's not such the case. It's hard work, it's drive, it's getting up early. You don't find the time, you make the time. It's all the cliche things you hear all the time. They're true.
But I think you have to repeat them though, because I think that in every stage of life, we know those things in the back of our mind, but it still is nice to have somebody just bring it back up again, you know, and be like, don't forget, you have to make time.
Yes.
You're not going to find time. It doesn't matter how old we get, it's still good reminders to hear. So what are the type of things and mottos or mantras that you live by?
I guess that would be the best one for me, is that you don't find time, you make time. Positivity is my whole mantra, honestly. Every single approach I have, anytime I start feeling myself becoming a little bit more negative, I try and stop myself and say, okay, what's the positive aspect of this? Yes, I work all the time, but that gives me a sense of purpose. Yes, I get very little sleep, but you know what? I'm a highly functioning individual on 5 hours of sleep. That gives me a lot of pride. So yeah, it's just a little bit of a reframing and rechanging the way you think about what you're looking at.
There's more than just the physical aspect to fitness. Talk to us a little bit about the nutritional aspect as well.
Nutrition's so important. I have a bundle of cliches that I use, and one of the ones I use all the time is you don't put water in your gas tank and expect your car to go. I mean, nutrition is what gives you that energy. So if you're feeding your body with all this junk, it's not going to go very well. I do nutritional coaching all the time, and one of the things that I hear almost 2 to 3 weeks in is, man, it's amazing how much better I feel just with a little bit of change in the eating habits. You have energy, you have drive, you have a little bit more focus. Your body does not function on unhealthy, preservative-rich foods. I'm a firm believer that if it can sit on a grocery store shelf for 2 years, it does not need to go in your body. It's one of those things. If it doesn't have an expiration date, it's going to sit in here forever.
Yeah.
But the most you could do, whether it's exercise or nutrition, would be nutrition.
I think a lot of people forget that nutrition is such an important aspect, and food is fuel. It's not just there to please you.
We are a convenience world, and unhealthy, nutrient-lacking food is very convenient. Making healthy food is a little bit more inconvenient. It's time-consuming, but the benefits greatly outweigh how much time you spend doing it.
You learn so much in the kitchen, too.
Yes.
That's what I found. I live in Chicago, so I go to Trader Joe's all the time.
Yes.
They have so much fun, healthy food, so I'm always making it. And I've learned a lot cooking throughout the past couple of months when I've been going to Trader Joe's and stuff.
So what would you say then is like your number one taboo thing? What really gets at you when somebody says, I love eating this? Are you ever like, oh man, please don't.
Yeah.
Please stop.
There's not really one specific thing, honestly, that's on the no list, surprisingly enough. It's all within moderation. So if you eat a small amount of something once a week, it's not going to affect you at all, as long as you're eating relatively healthy most of the time. But if every single night you're eating a bowl of ice cream, I had one client that told me at 2 a.m. I wake up and I eat a bowl of cereal and I go right back to sleep. I'm like, okay, good luck making your progress, because that's probably not going to happen if you keep that habit up.
Right.
But there really is, in moderation, anything acceptable.
So I think about relationships with food is just as important to me, and what my experience with my parents having a gym for 20 some years, that's one of the things that we really tried to coach them on, is that like when you sit here and you have so much extreme guilt and so much regret and it ruins your day because you grabbed a cookie at the office party, or you did go out maybe afterwards and all the kids wanted ice cream, so you did get some. Sometimes those occasions literally ate away at somebody for such a long time. And so I think that also really has a negative impact on a success story, because that mental side of it is a huge part of it. Showing up, the physical side, that's one thing, you know, eating healthy is another, but there's that mental component. Like, how do you process that? How do you help coach with that?
You tend to try and focus on the positive aspects of what they've accomplished so far. A lot of my clients reach milestones of under a certain amount, or 10 pounds, 20 pounds. I'm under 150, I'm under 200, things like that. You tend to try and focus on a little bit more. Cravings happen. Cravings all the time, they happen. Food is delicious, especially unhealthy food. It's very delicious. So the problem with that is that it's not going away anytime soon. I mean, there's only going to be more of it and less unhealthy food. So you tend to look at, okay, yes, unhealthy food is delicious, but feeling good about myself is much more delicious than that. I mean, I'm a firm believer that waking up and feeling like I'm 18 still is wonderful. I spring out of bed, I'm ready to go, I'm energetic at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm pretty confident not a lot of people can say that.
I don't even think I could do that at 18.
Well, and it doesn't come from exercise. Exercise helps for sure, but it's because I have a structured eating habits. I meal prep almost every single night, and I try and eat relatively healthy.
I think changing your focus on it really helps, as opposed to like saying, oh, well, I have to eat these things. I have to do this X, Y, and Z. Shifting your focus and being like, okay, this is going to make me feel better. Eating spaghetti at 8 o'clock at night, probably not. It's going to make me feel good.
Nope.
Maybe not.
But I want to run a marathon, and eating like this is going to help me get there. You know, I want to achieve a certain body type, and eating like this and meal prepping every single night is going to help me get there. You know, that's the exact same way that I would phrase it for somebody too.
Yeah.
So what about different stages of people's lives? Like, do you feel like at different stages people adopt different types of attitudes towards fitness? What do you see when it comes to the 18-year-old versus the 80-year-old that walks in there?
Yeah, you know, surprisingly enough, I find the mom and dad with 2 to 3 kids has a higher chance of success than the college kid. So one of the things that I hear a lot from college kids is, I need 10 hours of sleep. Every single day, I need 10 hours of sleep. No, you don't. No, you don't. If you ask any mom, any dad, you don't need 10 hours of sleep, because you're not going to get it. I can guarantee you that. So they understand that life hits you a little bit harder the older you get. Your body doesn't respond well to certain things. Sometimes there's not time, so you have to sacrifice sleep, not fitness-wise, but just in general life. They understand that the goals are just going to get a little bit harder, especially the more you keep putting them off. So I think with a little bit more life experience, a person tends to be a little bit more successable.
So let me ask you this, David, because I've seen this kind of float around Facebook, and this always really resonates with me, and I've said it before. I know my parents, grandparents say this all the time, where they'll say, like, I would do anything for my child. Like, I have an 11-year-old, you know, so they say things like that. I'll do anything for my child, or I would die for my children. I would die for my grandchildren. But then the quote that I see is, but would you live for them?
Right.
Like, and I think about that, where, you know, you probably have people that it took having kids before they decided, man, I really do have a reason I need to get healthy. Or having grandkids that they were like, I want to be around and be an active grandparent. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because not everybody is coming in to be a bodybuilder.
Right. It's just about the subtle, tiny little changes of, I want to set a good example. I want to be a mentor to my kids, or I don't want to be in a position where I pick my kid up and I strain my back. But I think it's a firm way to look at it, like, if you think misery loves company, so does positivity. I mean, your kid really is going to reflect almost every single action you have. So if they see you being down and grumpy and coming home, I hate my job and I hate this and I'm going to sit in the chair and I'm miserable, that's what they're going to grow up and expect life to do to them. But if you come in every single day and you're a bundle of energy, you play with your kid, you help them with their homework, and you're excited, and you try and help them with exercise and fitness, they're going to feel like that's just the normal way of life.
Mm-hmm. You know, to piggyback off of that, I always feel like growing up there is like rules that I've tried to abolish in my household. So one of those is like the no balls in the house type of thing, or like take that outside or go play outside or something like that. Because I feel like having an 11-year-old, like Jack is a very energetic kid, and I notice that when we are doing activities, that is when he is the most talkative. So like we could be in the kitchen, I could be making supper, and he's like grabbing a football and he'll be like, Mom, catch. And he is wanting to toss back and forth as I'm doing something. And then all of a sudden his day just unfolds. And he talks about what's going on at school and what's going on with his friends and all these dreams and thoughts. And I think that there is a type of decompression that happens when a person is able to like do something fitness wise, you know? And I don't think that we would achieve that. And I don't think he would be that way if we were just sitting on the couch.
Yep.
You know, I really don't. And I know that some families still do like family dinners and whatnot, like sitting at a dining room table. But even for, I don't know, maybe it's just the two of us. Maybe if there was, you know, a little passel of kids or something and siblings, maybe it would be different and everybody would feed off of each other. But I do believe that when we are engaged in some type of activity, that is when all of the chatter happens, you know?
I also think, too, with that, you're teaching him this sort of example of multitasking. I mean, to piggyback on what we were talking about previously, where you're cooking, you're listening, you're playing with him, and he sees you doing that, and he thinks that's the norm. So he's going to grow up and think, okay, with fitness, you have to multitask. I mean, with nutrition and fitness, you have to go, and you have to be able to juggle everything. So he sees you do that, and he doesn't see it as such an intimidating thing. He sees it as a normal thing. So that's a great example of how we set the example for our kids. I don't have any, but I understand
Right,
a little bit.
Right. And I think that there's so many different people that you deal with, and their kids are at different stages.
Yes.
That makes a difference, too, because I know the mom who's sitting here probably breastfeeding or like has like babies that are in diapers. I know that's a completely different lifestyle and a stage of life than me being able to have Jack at 11 who is able to go and do, you know, and be able to talk to him like he is an adult. Like I know that wears on a person mentally depending on the stage that those kids are at.
Yes.
And I know that your health and your activity level does change, but there's got to be little secrets or techniques that you can kind of throw in or suggest for people that are at different stages, I assume.
Yeah, there's just I don't know if I would say like little tips and tricks, because I'm a firm believer that there are no like tips or tricks that kind of make it. I really think it's just taking one approach with every single thing you do. So if you're going to better your nutrition, you just start with one single thing. Let's start with your breakfast. Let's fix your breakfast. Let's wake up and let's eat something healthy. For the rest of the day, do what you normally do. That's perfectly fine. Then after that, we'll start with a snack, and then we'll start with your lunch, move on from there. If you don't exercise, okay, let's start with 1 day a week. 1 day a week is very achievable for exercise. After that, once that's a pattern, let's go 2 days a week. 2 days a week after you've done one's perfectly fine. So it's more of a building technique rather than a trick and tip kind of thing.
Yeah. I feel like, honestly, David, it's like while it may be from a fitness side of things, it's more of a life coach in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Because like you said, if it can be one little thing, one aspect, and then you shift into something else, I do think it really is a way of life.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was really big into fitness whenever I came out of college, and then I realized that with exercise, it's nutrition. Once I realized that exercise and nutrition went hand in hand, I also realized that it was the mindset as well. So 99% of the time, if you fix someone's psychology, or at least the way they think about something, their whole frame of fitness is going to change. Everything else is going to become so much easier just because they feel better about the approach.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Like, sometimes people talk about when it comes to fitness or comes to a gym or things like that, they're like, oh, you couldn't pay me. You couldn't pay me to come to a gym. And they instantaneously shut that down. How does that make you feel? Like, if you're in those type of conversations, like, what, do you say something? Do you not? I mean, because in a lot of ways, it's not just your passion. It's not just your hobby. It's your career. And I try to think about that from other career standpoints. Like, no one would say that about going to the doctor. Like, if a doctor or MD is standing here, no one would be like, oh, I would never go to the doctor. That is so foolish. Like, I'm never going to spend money on that. But for some reason, when it comes to fitness, that is one of those areas that people kind of scoff at.
Yeah, a lot of the time it's really not the gym that they're scoffing at. They're kind of scoffing at their insecurities to going to a gym. I mean, I like to think of myself as a very confident person, but I know if I go into a car lot, I'm going to feel like the salesman is going to hustle me and get a couple extra $1,000s out of me. So I feel like most people think that's the same way as a gym. I mean, they're going to go into a gym and they're going to get set up with all these programs and all these nutrition supplements that they need, and that's not the case, but that's the mentality that we go into. You're going into an area where you're not confident. You go into an area where you're not the pro, you're not the person that's going to go into it and be successful right off the bat. So you're worried that you're going to get taken advantage of. And that's more of a how I feel about myself rather than how I feel about the gym. You just have to realize that they're going to project everything that they feel inside towards everything that is going to force them to change.
Mm-hmm. I also think it's really awkward when people say stuff like that, because there's all these things to fitness that people don't really realize, and people think it's just a structured thing that you have to do, and you only do it if you love it, but that's not the case at all.
Yeah. We have so many different approaches to fitness nowadays. It's not just a health club anymore. I mean, we have CrossFit with ML Crossfit. We have RedZone Fitness. It's like high-intensity interval training. We have personal training. I mean, we have lift on your own. There is something for everyone out there, whether it's workout at home, workout in a gym, workout with a trainer. Something out there is going to get you in a better shape. You just have to find what works for you.
Yeah, I feel like those people also don't realize that you can do what works for you. So,
Yes.
like, I was a dancer all my life, and I hate working out aside from that.
Yeah.
I just love dance.
Yeah.
But I do 12-3-30, which is an incline of 12, speed of 3 for 30 minutes, and oh my gosh, it kicks my ass
Absolutely.
every time.
It burns those legs up. Yeah.
And I do it every day. So, and that works for me because I like to walk.
Yeah.
But you can also do CrossFit if that's your thing. You know, there's so many things that you can do.
You have to find what works for you, and that is the key to success.
There are a lot of people who are intimidated by the gym. They see certain things and they have assumptions and they just get scared. So what advice do you have for those people?
Find a friend. So we all know somebody that has a tie into a gym, whether it's somebody on Facebook that you follow or whether it's a close friend that goes on a regular. Reach out to that person. Reach out to that person and ask them if you can go with them. More often than not, 90% of the time, they're going to love saying yes to you. Rarely ever will somebody be like, no, that's my time. They want you to come because it's like I said earlier, misery loves company, but positivity loves company too. That person wants to help you be a little bit more inspired and motivated. So find a friend that goes to a gym on a regular basis and go with them.
I do think that really does help inspire. You kind of, even if that you guys don't have the same goals.
Yeah.
I don't think that matters. And sometimes people have that perspective that like, oh, well, she's trying to, train for, whatever, a marathon or something like that. But that doesn't mean that you can't still go together, even if you don't have the same goals.
Going to a gym is about comfort level. And you're taking just a little bit of your own comfort with you. So if you go with a friend, you're comfortable with that friend. So maybe you're going to an uncomfortable environment, but you're going with somebody that makes you just a little bit more comfortable. And that just a little bit can go a long way to helping you.
It also brings an accountability aspect to it too, which is very important.
Yep. I always ask my friends and my family members, how's their fitness going? How are your eating habits? How are your eating habits is one of the conversations I start the day with almost every single person I see. It's just that little bit of accountability goes a long way too.
So you have like grandma and grandpa asking you at Christmas dinner how your love life is. And you're just like, what's your eating habits like?
Yep. Oh yeah, if you're going to make me uncomfortable, all right, here we go.
So what about the people, because I know we have viewers and listeners that maybe didn't have, you talked about your background in high school, that's kind of like segued into it. You've talked about dance, and I know that like I did every sport under the sun, but I also have friends that still here in their 30s or going into 40s have never once really had a fitness lifestyle, never played a sport. And I know that they want to be healthier or they would love to do something, but they literally have no idea. They're like, I don't even know what I would do if I walked in.
Right.
And I'm sure you see that. How do you combat that, or how do you work through that?
Well, you have to set a goal. And it's like I said earlier, where I listen to motivational speeches and things like that. There's a guy out there named David Goggins, where one of his goals was to become a Navy SEAL. He was 300 pounds, and his goal was just to be a Navy SEAL. I mean, right off the bat, most of the people that talked to him said it was an impossibility, but that was his goal. So he found a way to make that happen. When you have a goal, you find a way to take the steps to that goal. When you don't have a goal, you just kind of aimlessly wander around and hope things kind of just happen to you. Set a goal, figure out what it's going to take to make that goal happen, and you'll take the first step. Once you take the first, you'll take the second. Pretty soon you're going to be there, and you'll be setting more goals.
It's no different than having career goals
Yes.
or goals in life. Fitness is just another thing that's good to have goals for.
Yep.
Okay, so David, I've known you for a while.
Mm-hmm.
You've never been overweight. You've never been obese. So when you have people that walk in the gym that maybe are like that, like your example that, you know, the 300-pound, that he had a goal to be a Navy SEAL, whatnot, how do you kind of talk to them about understanding? Because you do have a very good level of understanding and empathy. How do you talk to them about that? Because I think sometimes that is that voice in the back of their head that says, well, you can't understand my struggles. You can't understand what I'm going through.
I've been in the business long enough to be able to see, I'm a very empathetic person. So what you go through more often than not is I'm going to go through that with you at the same time. So I've been through the struggles with my clients, whether they gain a pound, lose a pound, and it hits my heart just like it hits theirs. So I try and teach them it's just about their comfort zone. You have to step outside your comfort zone. It's one of the main reasons why this shirt is one of my favorite shirts, because if you can get that person to accept that they're just living inside of a little comfort zone, and if they take a small step out, they'll see a considerable change. They'll be so addicted to that change that they'll take another step out.
We talk about the phrase, the devil you know, all the time.
Yes.
Because it doesn't matter what aspect of your life it is, whether it's like the relationship that you're in, it's like that's just the devil you know.
Yes.
The job that you hate and that you loathe, the lifestyle that you have, it's just the devil you know.
The unknown is so terrifying.
It really is to so many people. It's honestly, it's debilitating or paralyzing for many people.
Yes.
So I guess that also leads into, how do you capture the people that have not walked through the door of the gym? Like, how do you try to connect with people? Is this just outside of the gym? You try to do this and you try to motivate people when you can, whether it's friends groups, or do you try to just keep it in the gym, the four walls of the gym, and just kind of go at it from that?
Be careful with your answer here, because Cassie owns a marketing firm and she's low-key probably taking notes.
Sly into this. No, I try and, as silly as it sounds, I try and be everybody's friend. So whenever I answered your question, I told you to find a friend. I try and reach out to everybody. I try and talk to a lot of people. You see it on Facebook all the time where people, you know, what fitness advice can you guys give me? I try and answer those. Just a real quick one without any kind of catch at the end of it. You know, not come and see me and I'll get you in shape. Just how can I lose weight? Well, here's a tip. Here's a trick. Here's something that you can do to take home and do in the course of a week, and you can see major improvements. Or I try and be a little bit more inspirational on Facebook or Instagram as much as I can, just social media or the events, you know, all the runs that we used to have before COVID. I try and get involved with those. It's just about being the positive light that people can look to and say, okay, that guy's doing it. I want to do it too. If he can do it, I can do it.
So every episode we ask our guests what they have left at the door. So what word or thing would you say that you've left at the door to get to where you are now?
I would say negativity. I used to actually think I was a very unlucky person whenever I was growing up. I used to think, you know, an impoverished lifestyle, and, you know, I wasn't a very popular kid. I wasn't very active or fit in my, you know, 8, 9, 10, 11. My brothers were a little bit more fit than I was. So I kind of had this down opinion of myself. Well, I'm not going to be anything, or I'm just going to be this, you know, nobody. And after a while, I started telling myself, you know, that's not going to get you anywhere. So if you change the way you approach something, then you're going to completely change your life. And so I just stopped thinking about things negatively. You can hit me with anything, and I'm going to try and find a positive spin with it. I mean, something's going to make me grow. It's going to happen.
So do you believe in, like, the power of, like, is it just power of positive thinking? Do you believe in, like, manifestation? Do you believe in, like, higher being or spiritual side of things? Like, what is it that kind of motivates you towards that positive lifestyle?
Mindset is the most important thing for me. The way you shape your mind is going to be the way the physical outcome happens for you. If you approach something and tell yourself on a regular basis, well, I'm exercising, but I can tell you tomorrow I'm not going to lose any weight. I'm going to tell you in a week whenever I step on that scale, it's going to be the same way. What's going to happen is that scale is going to be the exact same thing it was whenever you stepped on it, or you're not going to achieve that bench press weight mark or that squat weight mark. You're not going to run that mile. The mile was one of the things that nobody could overcome at a 4-minute pace, and that was something that everybody said was an impossibility, except for one guy that went out there and trained for it. And everybody that came across him said, you're not going to run a 4-minute mile.
Yeah.
But he ran a 4-minute mile, and shortly after that, another guy did, and another guy did, another guy did. So he knew he was going to do it. He went out there every single day and knew he was going to make that happen. And once he did, everybody else, oh, okay, that's realistic, that's possible, that can happen. So their positivity kind of changed, and their mindset kind of got a little bit more inspirational.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that most people don't know is that I actually beat that 4-minute mile record.
Did you?
Nice.
I did.
So I was in high school, and we ran around the lake, and that was relatively a mile. And then there was also a road that went by the baseball diamonds also, which would kind of cut through. And so I was like, well, I don't really want to run today because it's freezing cold outside. So I decided I was going to cut through and just act like I sprinted it the whole way. So I show up, and the PE coach is like, congratulations, you are probably the fastest human that has ever run a mile. And I kind of like waited by the bell diamonds thinking like, okay, I've given it enough time. It's probably at like 6 minutes at this point. My timing was really off.
Yeah.
It was like 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
She's like, go run it again. So,
See,
I
one of
know.
the things that people don't know about me is I actually used to walk the mile in high school. I could dance for 6 minutes straight, high energy jazz dance. We did that for my freshman year. We did the recital. High school jazz always closed it out, and we had 6 minutes. It was 2 songs, and it was Grease. Oh my gosh. But I couldn't run a mile.
One thing people don't know about me is I used to skip gym all the time. So, it's
We're
just those
two
little
peas in a
things.
pod.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that like little things like that people just did not know. Yeah. So let me ask you, David, just to kind of like put it in perspective for viewers and listeners. If they're sitting there and they're thinking, I just can't do it. I can't do it. I can't. And they're sitting in that negative mind space.
Yeah.
How or what would you say to them to just even take one step, or how would you help to motivate them?
I guess I would change the way they kind of phrase that. I can't do it, but what if you could? I mean, what if you could? How would you feel about yourself if you could? Okay, maybe you can't lose 20 pounds, but what if you could? How would you feel about yourself? Maybe I can't get under 200 pounds. What if you could? What if you can get back to your high school weight? What if you can wake up in the morning and feel good about yourself? How would you feel? It's almost a night and day experience. I mean, what if you were more energetic? What if you felt better about yourself? You would accomplish so many things. And I think that alone should be something we strive for.
Yeah, I think one of the things that motivates me the most is that time's going to pass regardless.
Yeah.
So you can make use of that time, or you could just sit and do nothing.
Or the same thing you do every single day. You can watch the television show, you can watch people living their lives, or you can live your life.
Yeah, it's so true. I think about here, we've been in the middle of this pandemic, and my neighbor Hans, he's in his 80s, and he still runs marathons. He still runs and trains,
With a name like Hans.
I know,
you kind
right?
of have to.
Yeah, you have to, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it has been so funny because he got sick, him and his wife did, with COVID, and we were chatting about it a little bit, and he was so mad because he no longer could run like 15 miles on training days.
Yep.
Like, dang it, he was down to like 9 and 10 miles. And so his perspective on things has been remarkable for me, to think to myself, like, literally, I try to tell myself, like, I could have no excuse because if Hans can do if he can go run 20 miles just because he's bored, there is no reason that I can't do X, Y, and Z.
If 9 miles can be a short time for him, a quick workout.
Right,
we can make
exactly.
time.
It really is. There's time for something, even if it's something small. And I think that is also another thing that I think about with, the people that are sitting there thinking about, like, well, I just don't have time. I don't have time. I'm raising kids. I'm doing this. I'm working. It's so true. I know that life is so chaotic. It really is. But I also think to myself, I don't know about you guys, but when I do look at like my screen time on my phone, it is a huge...
There's time.
There's time.
There's
a
time there.
huge wake-up call, And there's so many little things that I can think about where I'm like, if I show up to, a meeting early, or if a meeting wraps up early, and I just think to myself, like, this gives me time to like go, even if it's something small, like running into a boutique and like dropping something off. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to move the car. I'm just going to walk the 3 blocks, go to the meeting, do whatever. So I even think like little tricks like that. Well, I know you said you hate the word tricks, but I think about little things in my head where I'm like, okay, I can just do it this way. And there's just little small things that just push you, and you get in a little bit of fitness, especially for people that track their steps or something like that. You get in a little bit of something, even if it's not a set time, you're in your gym shorts and you go to the gym. Sometimes there's things that you can still do to make a difference.
Absolutely.
David, this has been really informative, and I think that it's really helped put a lot of different thoughts and perspectives on fitness. that maybe people knew a little bit, but they're just kind of are thinking, well, do I want to take that next step? Do I want to dip my toe in the water? And I think you've made it very manageable and just made it to where people understand it so much better. So I really appreciate you coming on and talking about it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. It's one of those topics that I think that for some people it's a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
For other people it is like full-blown lifestyle. And then there's some people that are in the middle or some on different ends of the scale.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be anywhere in that.
Anywhere in between, as long as you're happy. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for coming on. And if you want to know more information about David or the gyms that he manages or he owns, or you want to maybe ask him a question, well, he is located here in Decatur, Illinois, so you can stop into one of the gyms. He's always out and about. You can catch him on a run. Maybe you're going to see him somewhere. So we'll put all of those links up on our YouTube and our social media so that you can connect with him. And if you're just even needing, maybe you're not ready to step foot into a gym yet, but if you're just needing a dose of positivity because you left negativity at the door, if they just need some positive reinforcement, they can check that out with your social media as well.
Yes.
So thanks for coming on. This has been an episode of Left at the Door.
Left at the Door wants to thank Main Place Real Estate. This episode was recorded in their gorgeous new office space that's located on the 7th floor at 101 South Main Street in downtown Decatur, Illinois. Main Place Real Estate and its team of brokers exists to help people through the complex, emotional, and financially challenging real estate transactions. They are a team of professionals that understand the knowledge and the passion and the experience to make real estate transactions an incredibly easy experience for all of their clients. They have access to really important data, and then they understand that data and use it to serve the unique best interests of both buyers and sellers. They are a team of brokers that have served Central Illinois market, including Decatur, Forsyth, Mount Zion, and surrounding Macon County areas. When it comes to real estate, the best choice, it's Main Place Real Estate. They're available to help you find your place.